How long? Well, I'm sure I mean, I guess you could if you, but it takes time.
It does
It's not
take
just like
time.
a quick, it would like maybe just like a story or something or
Stories
like
I'll do.
those
I'll
are
do
easy.
stories. And
Yeah.
even on my personal page, I'll post my kids and things like that. But for example, I went to Aruba. I went on vacation in February and I still haven't posted a photo. That was the end of February and March. And I have pictures and I sat down a couple times and I thought, hey, today's the day. And now I've already done so many different things. How can I post February photos?
But you're busy.
But I probably will post because I feel like my personal Instagram, it's my photo album.
Yeah,
it's where I go back and I look at all the things that I've done with my family.
But I love that you're more focused on just like you're in the moment. Because like I was at a Morgan Wallen concert not too long ago, and I looked around at the crowd. Everyone's watching the concert through their phone, right?
That's life. I know. So it's funny you say that because I'm definitely an in the moment person, right? Sometimes I won't even have my phone on me if I'm out with my family, if we're at an event together.
Yeah.
I was at a birthday party on Saturday night, barely took my phone out. And then I get home and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even take a picture of the birthday boy. Like I really want to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And then I find myself when I'm at my son's games, I record every moment of the game, but I don't watch it through the phone. I hold the phone and I watch the game. Like I make it a thing that I see that game in real time.
Yeah.
I'm not watching through the phone because there was a point where I was like, I can't even enjoy the game because I need to record, because if you don't record, you don't get highlights. And that's very important if you're a serious athlete. And so then I figured out a way to hold the phone and watch the game and be able to.
You're like your own steady cam. Yeah.
I am. I'm like, my elbow goes here and I watch.
That's a good mom.
And sometimes if things happen, I get a little excited. So, okay, we'll veer off a little bit. But for the most part, I figured out I've mastered the art of watching the actual game and not watching my phone.
Wow.
Which is huge. But you're right. Nobody lives in the moment.
So where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Staten Island, born and raised. I've lived there my entire life. That's where I met my husband. I went to college in Long Island. And I think I never loved Staten Island growing up.
Yeah.
Especially when I went to college, I felt like Long Island was so beautiful and it had so much to offer. And I always pictured myself being there.
Yeah.
But I love my family and my family is on Staten Island. And I think that's part of why I stayed there. I was very close to my grandmother. I lived with her. I couldn't imagine leaving her. I couldn't imagine being far from her. I couldn't imagine her not having access to me. And then when I was about 22, I met my now husband, who was my boyfriend, and that was it.
How'd you guys meet?
So, funny story, him and I knew, I guess, of each other when we were younger. Him and my sister were in the same grade, elementary school, middle school, and I was 2 grades older than them, but he has a very unique name. So if you said his name, you know who it is. There's like only one of them, right? Okay. So I always knew of him. Fast forward, however many years later, I guess 20 years later, and my cousin had lived on his block. She moved there. They got an apartment and they needed another roommate. And it was a great opportunity for me to try on my own, get out of the house. I wasn't too far from my grandmother. So I moved onto the block that he lived on. And then we just kind of connected. We became neighbors. My cousin at the time had introduced me to him. I was like, oh, hey, he lives down the block. And we just became friends. And from friendship, it became romance, like this in a summer. It was literally a summer fling, so I thought. And then he had said to me one day, it was like July, and he was like, have you ever been to Puerto Rico? And I was like, never been. He's like, well, I would like to go on vacation. I was like, let's go. And we went to Liberty Travel because I wasn't using Expedia or anything back then. Not yet, really.
Yeah.
We went to Liberty Travel and we booked a vacation together.
Did you go to San Juan?
We did. We did.
I have that meme stuck in my head right now.
We went, we did it all. We did it all. We went for a long weekend.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the weekend where we were like, okay, maybe we're more than friends.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But honestly, for me, I think I just had so much fun with him. And that's kind of why I keep him around now.
That's a really good reason.
No, he really is. He's a genuine guy.
Yeah.
I think if you asked anybody to describe him, they would say that about him. He's very honest. He's very real. He's very kind. He wants to help people. He's reliable, but he makes me laugh. And I think that for whatever reason, maybe I needed it. And I think I had shared this with you at one point, but God gives you things that you don't always realize you need. And I don't really know if my husband would have been the guy that I picked on paper.
Yeah.
But once I got to know him and I saw how our personalities connected, and I realized that I needed somebody to maybe slow me down a little bit, maybe to not take things so seriously. He was that guy for that. And that's what really made me feel so connected to him. And it was a good choice.
Yeah. How long were you guys together before you got married?
Okay, so if I could do the math right, we started dating in 2023. We got engaged in rewind. We started dating in 2003. 2023 was only
I was going to say,
3
wow,
years
it's
ago.
so recent.
I messed up my decades.
Yeah.
So we started dating in 2003. We got engaged in 2008 and married in 2009. And then we had our first kid 2010.
Wow.
So it was quick. But it was quick for a reason.
Yeah.
I think we dated for a while, but we both felt like, what was the point of getting engaged if you weren't ready to start a family and get married? And so I feel like once we got to the point where we were like, okay, we're ready, we got engaged November 2008 and we got married June 2009. Like that. It was like barely 6 months.
And were you working through this whole time?
Of course.
Yeah.
I didn't own my business, but I was working. I had a great job. I worked in Manhattan and I worked for a beauty brand. And I was doing retail marketing. I love my job. I love the perks. We traveled. We did all the fun stuff that you could think of for a marketing position. We worked with the PR teams. We worked with the brand teams. We did their events and their launches and all the things that you would imagine like marketing to be.
Yeah.
I got to do. So I loved my job. And my husband supported it. He, whatever made me happy. I think that's another thing that I loved about him is he always wanted me to be happy. And if it wasn't good for me, he was okay with me not doing it. And I think that that's probably partly why I left my corporate job.
Yeah. But
And then I started.
What was it that drew you to marketing to begin with?
Well, from a young age, I felt like I was always very creative, but it was more than just being creative. I had the strategy. And I always wanted to be a part of something that you can build. And so when I was in college, I did marketing and advertising. And advertising was something that I absolutely loved. Like I love being able to build campaigns. I love being able to hear a story about a product and to be able to bring it to life in some way. So I realized in college that that was something that fueled my soul. Like that was something that made me feel really good. And then when I started working in marketing, I think that there were so many things that I learned about marketing that I didn't realize that it was more than just the fun stuff. And there were a lot of numbers involved and that, you know, when you worked for a big brand, you had to make sure that everything that you created aligned with the
pillars
brand.
Of the,
the brand's vision and things like that. And so that was definitely working for me for a while, especially while I was young. I was learning. I was getting to do a lot of fun things. The specific position that I was in was a hybrid of the marketing, the sales, the strategy. So for me, it was perfect. I loved it. And then I guess you get to a point in your career where you realize you either want more or you want something different. And
what was that point for you?
Me.
Like when did you start to really think I need to change?
I felt that way when I had my firstborn. And I know a lot of people probably say that when you have your first kid, it changes everything. But I think people say that because it's true. Your entire perspective shifts that instant. My entire life, the minute my daughter was born, I could get emotional talking about it because I was so driven.
Yeah.
I really thought that in my younger years, I could just climb up that corporate ladder. And I envisioned myself becoming a VP of a business. And I worked really hard to build my reputation. And I worked really hard to learn. I invested in learning the business. Like I took my own personal time to make sure that I thought through everything that I was doing because I wanted to get up and present to the VP and I wanted to do all those things. And then I became a mom. And I was like,
what changed? Like, can you kind of describe it?
I didn't matter as much as this little person did. And I guess I underestimated how much a little person needs you and how much your involvement in their life impacts who they become.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can give you the exact instant when I realized it because it's a very vivid image that I have. I was very fortunate to get a 6-month maternity leave from my job, which a lot of companies don't offer that.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have to say was huge for me. And I took every minute that I could. I had my daughter in June. I went back in November. And by January, I came home from work one day and my mother-in-law was in the house and her and my mom were helping with my daughter at the time during the day when I was working. So I was very fortunate to have them and I didn't have to leave her in daycare or with a babysitter.
Right.
They had their grandmas there, which was, I don't think that you can ask for anything better than that. And I walked in and she had said something to me and it sounds so silly, but it just struck a chord. And she was like, I'm going to go buy diapers for Michaela in the morning. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
And I probably took it in a way that I shouldn't have because she's an incredible woman and I know that she only wants to help and she's got nothing but good intentions. But then as a mom who was already emotional, who felt bad about leaving her daughter home and who felt like I was putting my career and my wants and my needs ahead of my child, what I heard was, I'm doing the mom things now and you don't have to worry about that. And I know that that's not what she said, but it was that moment where I was like, this is not working for me. This being away all day, leaving my house at 6:30 in the morning, getting home at 6:30 at night. It's just not, I can't do this.
Yeah.
There's so much that I want to teach my child. And of course I didn't want to miss any of the firsts, which I didn't. But it was more about making sure that my kids had the values that I wanted them to have. Although I trusted my mom, I trusted my mother-in-law, I respected them.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think that they were going to steer them wrong in any way. This is not about them doing wrong by them.
It was a voice inside of you.
It was a voice inside me. And I was thinking, well, how can I make sure that they're learning what I want them to learn if I'm not there all day long? Which I also knew wasn't going to happen because I wasn't the type to give up what I loved completely.
Yeah.
But it was that moment. I walked in my house and I sat my mother-in-law down and I said, listen, I think I need to figure out another way. And I was also, at that time, I think I was making a little bit more money than my husband was. We had owned a pizzeria. He was doing great with it, but I had a great job and I had a lot of perks and I had a great salary and bonus and all that. And when you own your own business, you don't get those things. And so he didn't have all of those things. So the fact that I was the one saying, hey, I need to make a change. I can't work like this. I don't want to have a full-time job anymore. I need to be present. I think it kind of threw everybody for a loop. Also, the fact that I was always driven. I always provided for myself. I supported myself. I paid for all my own things. I paid my own way through college, didn't get $1 from anyone. I made sure that all my loans were paid off before I got married because I didn't want my husband to inherit loans. Like that was just me personally. It's not because he wouldn't, and it's not because it made me feel less of a person. It was more so that was my personal goal.
Yeah.
College was my investment. And I didn't want anybody to feel like they needed to take that on. And so when I was telling everybody that this was something that I was thinking about, I don't think they could believe it. But when I sat my husband down, he said, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And that was all I needed to hear.
Yeah. That's hard when you share like, oh, I think I'm going to make this change. I want to do something different. And people are saying, well, what do you mean? Or how are you going to do that? Like, that's kind of
how
like,
are you going to support yourself?
Yeah. You're already thinking of those things.
For sure.
And you're like, I don't need to be hearing it from the outside too.
No.
Yeah.
But I think like, especially for my mom and for my family that I grew up with, and they knew how I was and they knew that having a career was so important to me. I think for them, it was like, whoa, but we get it. But when my husband said, we'll figure it out, I knew that that was my okay to figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. I went into work the next day. I gave my 2 weeks notice and I was like, I'm going to figure it out.
Was work shocked too?
They were. Yes, they were. But the boss that I had at the time, she was a mom. And I think that that makes a difference. And I feel like she understood and she wasn't the type to hold you back. And I appreciated that.
It's rare.
It is rare. And so I told him that I was leaving and that I was going to figure it out. And of course, there was like a little non-compete, so I had to be careful about the decisions that I made. And then there was a coworker, an ex-coworker of mine who had started working at another beauty company. And we stayed in contact for years. And so I don't remember if we were texting or whatever the case was, but she was like, you know, I would love for you to come and work over here. And I was like, really? What do you got?
Yeah.
You know? I said, I just left, you know, the company that I was at. I said, but I'm looking for something new, but it would be on a consulting basis. I'm not looking to jump into anything full time. I really want to do things kind of on my own terms, but get what I need to get out of it and also be there for my child.
Yeah.
So I was offered a 4-day-a-week position, making my own hours. So I was doing 8:30 to 4:30. I was home by 5:30. I was able to leave before the main rush hour. And that was just temporary. And then we switched it. I did that at that time because they really needed help. And then I did that for, I want to say 3 or 6 months. And then I went down to 3 days a week. That was amazing. That was for me the perfect balance. And to be honest, I was working on a daily rate and I was making as much as I was making at my full-time job.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there were some trade-offs, right? Like bonuses and, you know, benefits and things like that. But what I was getting
was so much more.
It was so much more valuable.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where it never became about money anymore. It became about balance. And I think after working with so many different brands, because then at that time I went and I worked with a smaller cosmetic brand, and then I went and worked with this imaging company, and they were launching a beauty division. And I got to be able to see the culture of so many different companies.
Yeah.
And then I started to think, well, how do I create a culture that works for me, that offers me balance, that allows me to do all the things that I've loved doing? And how do I take something and make it be the culmination of all the things that I've loved about all of the jobs that I've held? And this is why I am where I am now. I had to take that shift again, and really take even more control over my business. And although I didn't mind working for people, I was a good employee. I was never one of those people that felt like they were smarter than anybody. I always loved being around people who were smarter than me. I felt like I loved to learn. But I was also at a point where I needed to make a decision where I can build some stability for myself and also have that balance. And that's really what it came down to when I decided to start my own business.
And what is the name of your business?
So the name of my business is The Beauty Suite, and we are in Staten Island, New York. And I think that this really was the culmination of all the things that I've done in my career. I came from beauty businesses. I worked with a lot of I've worked with a lot of makeup artists in the past. I've managed global makeup artist events, global makeup artist programs. And I felt like bringing that into this business would bring so much value. I've worked on the strategy side, which means that I'm able to do business development. And I've always been very good at people. That's one of my gifts, right? Maybe I'm not the best at certain things and I really don't have any talents. I can do a lot, but I've always been good at people, and I've always been good at communicating with people. And I think part of that is because of my perspective on life.
Yeah, but being good with people is a gift. That is a talent.
I mean, for me, I say it's my talent, but I don't know
Everything
if people
revolves around people.
It
right?
does. So I think that it is. I think that I've learned how to communicate in a way that makes people feel heard. I've been able to communicate in a way that doesn't make people feel like they're less than me. I think we're all equal. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what kind of car you drive. If you own a business, if you work for someone, I think everybody's equal, and I think people should be treated that way. I don't think that I'm better than anyone. And I think it's insulting when people think that they're better than people just because of their status. So I don't operate like that. And I think that that was something that was very important to me when I was starting this business, is that I wanted people to feel like they were as much a part of the business as I am, as the owner. And even now people will say, my boss. And I'm like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel a little weird.
Yeah.
Only because I don't ever want people to think that they have to answer to me, because I don't work like that. And every conversation that I have with people, I like to think that it's an open conversation. It's not anybody enforcing anything. It's not anybody asking that things be done a certain way. It's a conversation, because without people, my job doesn't operate, right? I need people. I need people to answer phones and emails, and I need people to provide services. And if I'm not treating those people right, then I don't have that.
So how long ago did you found the Beauty Suite?
So the Beauty Suite was founded in 2018.
Mm.
That's when, we opened in 2018. I started the business plan for the Beauty Suite in 2016. Mm. And my grandmother at the time, my grandmother had passed away since then, but she was a huge inspiration for me because she was the woman who would wake up in the morning and she wouldn't leave the house without putting her eyebrows on. And as she got older, her eyebrows got less even and more crooked. Mm-hmm. And so she needed more help, so I couldn't even tell you how many days that I would sit and I would draw her eyebrows on. She eventually got them tattooed on, but it still wasn't enough. So we had to continue to make them even, right? Every woman knows that no two eyebrows are the same. No two boobs are the same. No two feet. No 2 feet are the same. I feel like if you're a woman, you get it.
Yeah.
And so she was a big inspiration for me because when I first started to talk about the idea of the suite, I knew that I didn't want to open a regular salon. I didn't want it to be traditional. I wanted it to be something different. I had no salon business. Who was I opening up something like that, right? And so I knew I wanted it to be event-based. I knew I wanted to offer people a place to get ready because when you're getting ready for something, you're happy, right? When you're making yourself look good, you feel good. It kind of all goes together. And so when I started to share that with my grandmother, she was like, this is amazing. This is genius. I wish something like this was around when I was younger. And as she, got sicker and she had sensed that she sensed that something was going to happen. We didn't know. It was very sudden. But when she had gotten to that point, she was like, don't ever let anybody or anything stop you from following your dreams and reaching your vision. And I took that. I took that to heart. And my grandmother and I were super close. I was born in her house. When we moved and my husband and I bought our own house, we took her with us. Mm-hmm. There were very few moments in my life that she wasn't a part of. And so when she said that to me, I was like, you know what? I felt like I owed it to her to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I did. And even though there were plenty of people who were nervous for me, I don't want to say that anybody was discouraging, but I think there were people who were a little, pessimistic about it.
Sometimes people can project their own fears.
For sure.
I don't want to say sometimes. I want to say
most of the time.
Most of the time.
For sure.
99.9% of the time, people will project their own fears onto someone else. And I don't think that there's malintent there most of the time, but I don't think people realize that it's not, there's a negative connotation to it, right?
Sure. And I think that I agree 100% with that. And I think that most of the people that, I don't want to say they were negative, but that they were a little cautious or wanted me to be a little more cautious were people that were not risk takers. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself a risk taker, but I'm definitely not afraid to try something new.
Bet on yourself.
Exactly. I'm not afraid to bet on myself. And I think one reality that I had to really embrace is that my vision is my vision, and I can't expect everybody to see through my eyes. Mm-hmm. And so if I believe in it, it's because what I see it to be and what I think it can turn into. And just because they can't see that doesn't mean it won't work. Mm-hmm. And so I had to shift myself to that because I did believe in it. And while there were people who were saying, hold off, maybe, think about something else or try a different business or whatever the case was, I had to put all that noise to the side and I had to really believe in myself. And I was asked to speak one time at a restaurant on Staten Island, and they were hosting a Women's International event. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I got asked at this event was, how did you know you were ready? How did you know that you were able to give up your career, stop working for corporate companies, give up a salary, give up a per day rate, give up benefits, give up all these things? How did you know that you were ready to do all of that? And my answer was I don't really know if I knew that I was ready for all of that. But I got to a point where my faith in success outweighed my fear of failing. And if I was going to do it, I was going to do it scared. Mm-hmm. And just to continue to believe that I was going to make it all happen. And I would do whatever it took to get to that point. And I think people are looking for a formula.
There never is
There's
a formula.
no formula.
And there's no specific time, like, oh, now's the time.
No.
Right? Think about it. When you met your husband, were you like, now's the time? Or when you had your first kid, you're like, this is exactly the time I was planning. No. Or when you decided, I'm going to leave my corporate job.
Sure.
Right? It was just you trusting
yourself. My gut and what I was feeling in that moment. None of it was planned. And I think a lot of younger entrepreneurs or people who are working for themselves, I think that they're waiting for a sign, or they're waiting for someone to tell them, hey, you've done it, you know. And
no one's coming.
And that doesn't.
No one's coming.
No one's coming.
Yeah.
Keep knocking, but nobody's coming.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was really just to believe in myself, and to make sure that I would do whatever I had to do to make it successful. Especially once I signed the lease, then I was like, oh shit, now I really have to make it work.
Yeah.
Because now I have a bill that I've never had before. And I have no money coming in.
So you start manifesting this business, creating in 2016.
Yep.
You launch it in 2018.
Yes.
You sign the lease.
I signed the lease in 2017.
Beautiful space.
Thank you.
Gorgeous space. What was that like when you walked in the doors? Like after the lease is signed, they give you the keys, right? You walk into this lovely space.
Yes.
And you're like, I got to fill it and I got to make this successful.
Yeah. That's it. I think it's all that excitement and fear and anxiousness that comes with, you know, entering a space that you've never been in before, right? It's now a whole new world for me. This is not something I've ever done. I've never owned a salon type business. I've never owned a business before.
But you had the vision.
I had the vision. And so the very first time that I saw that space was February 2017. And it was a little over the budget that I thought that I wanted to be at. Because you don't know, right? People ask you all the time, what's a budget? You're like, I don't know what my budget is.
Right.
My budget is what do I have to do to make it happen?
Right.
Like I don't know what my budget is. So I feel like when you're building something new, you kind of learn all those things as you go along and you do your research because you don't know what you're supposed to spend on a space. You have no idea what it will cost for your electricity for the month. You've never done this before. And so when I had first seen it, it seemed like it was a little bit more expensive than what I was willing to pay. And then I went and saw all these other spaces and I was like, wow, I couldn't get that space out of my mind. I was like, that space was perfect. I saw the business come to life in that space.
Yeah.
And then I got the call that another place was taking it. And it was a hair salon. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. We lost it. So, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's see other spaces. Let's not settle for a space. We'll just continue to look. And then that fell through.
Wow.
And it was a blessing for us because we were able to negotiate a little bit better of a rate because now the space had been available for so long. At this point, it was almost, I guess, about 8 months since I had seen it. They had offered it to someone else, didn't work out, fell through. And now here we are. We still didn't have a space. And now this space that they were dying to lease is still available. So I was able to negotiate it and get it down a little bit from what their original asking price was, which was great. And I just felt that it was right. So we made the appointment. We did the lease. We went. We met with the lawyers. We signed it all and done. And I knew at that moment there was no time to take your foot off the gas. Couldn't take your foot off the gas. It was full steam ahead. And I know now, right? I didn't know a lot of things then that I know now. Once you own your own business, and you've probably heard this before because I feel like a lot of people, especially in a mom and pop shop where you rely on traffic, right? You rely on people coming in, word of mouth. The minute you take your foot off the gas, everything slows down. The minute, as instantly, you want to go on vacation? Go on vacation. You're going to feel it a little bit. You want to take some time off? Take time off, but you're going to feel it. And so when we opened up the beauty suite, I didn't go on vacation for a few years. We really didn't do much. And we were okay with that, right? It was what we had to do. It was very important to me that I understood the business from the front lines. I didn't want to be just the owner. You know, that's a conversation that you and I had. You know.
Just the owner.
Just the owner.
Yeah.
Because so many people would say to me, oh, you know, you're opening up a salon. A lot of people say a salon. I call it a beauty studio.
Well, explain what it is too, because I'm sure I don't want people to be confused.
Sure.
It's, like when you hear the name, it's easy to assume that
we're
it's
a salon.
Hair salon.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are an event-based beauty business. From the outside, a lot of people may look at us and think that we are just a salon, right? Or offering hair services and makeup services, but we're so much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much more that we can be. And that's actually something that I've been working on now. I'm evolving the brand so that I still want clients to walk through the doors and feel like they can come in there and they can get ready for their event.
Yeah.
And they have a beautiful space to take photos. And that was a big part of why we designed the space that we did.
Mm-hmm.
We needed it to be Instagram worthy. We needed it to be a place where women can come in and get their first look pictures, right? Because now they have their hair done, their makeup done. You are not looking better
It's an
at
experience.
any point in the night than you do fresh.
Yeah.
When your hair and makeup is done, the lighting is amazing. Like everything is just phenomenal in there. If you're getting ready for an event, that's where you want to be, right? And so a lot of people will look at it and think that that's just what we are, but we're so much more. We're so much more to the artist. To the artist, we're a home base for them.
Mm-hmm.
To the artist, we're their support system. To a client who's booking a birthday shoot, we are a venue for her to come in and get her hair done, her makeup done, and take beautiful photos for her birthday. There's so much more to us, and that's why it was so important to me that we didn't launch as a traditional salon, because I wanted people to understand that there's potential to it, right? And now I'm working on what the next phase of that looks like, and so we'll be announcing that in the next couple of months, but I think for where we are right now, if a woman knows that she can come there and she's going to get a very high quality experience, she's going to get a hairstylist that's been vetted, a hairstylist that's experienced, a hairstylist that's passionate about her job, and the same thing for a makeup artist. That to me is what's most important. And then when they're done, they take a beautiful photo. And it kind of is in line with what the world that we live in right now. Everybody wants to look good. We've kind of created a business that was once considered a luxury and it's now considered a necessity. People don't go out without getting ready anymore,
right?
Because they're going to be featured somewhere, whether it's on their TikTok, their Instagram, their friends, in the background of somebody's video. People do not go out barefaced without putting a curl or slicking back their hair some way. Everybody is getting ready for little things, not just big things. People come to us for everything,
day-to-day
for life.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a great part of our business is that we see clients, listen to this, for 8th grade prom, for their senior proms. We see them when they get engaged. We see them when they have a baby. We see them for their first birthdays. We have so many clients that come to us for all these milestones, and we get to be a part of their entire journey. So you sit back and you look and you see the beauty suite and you're like, oh, that's a cool, place to get ready. But again, it's so much more than that. And I think that that's the part of the business that a lot of people don't even embrace.
Or maybe they just don't understand. They don't grasp
it.
That it's the milestone of so many like beautiful milestones in people's lives.
Absolutely.
That is the essence of what the beauty suite is.
For sure.
So for you, I know you want it to be an experience for your clients, but it's also an experience too for the people that work for you.
100%.
And having come from corporate and then being the quote unquote boss of, many people. What was that like for you? Like recruiting people, bringing people on board. What was that process like? And like, what did you learn through that?
So I've learned so much. I think when we first opened, we were trying to navigate waters that we've never been in before. And I think I learned very early on that if I didn't make this business about the artist, then I wasn't going to be successful. I learned very early on that if everybody does their job, then everybody will win. I learned very early on that if I didn't help people grow, my business didn't grow. So I took a step back and reflected about the business model or the typical salon type model. And I knew we weren't that. I knew that we weren't just going to be a place where people come in and they do their job and they leave. We wanted the artist to feel like the beauty suite is their home. We wanted the artist to feel like they're getting the support that they need to grow. And so when I left all of my jobs and when I left my corporate career and I shifted to this, I was able to take a lot of the things that I learned from, I've done task forces at my last few jobs. Like I was part of their human resource task force and their efficiency task force. So I was able to get a lot of valuable information working with life coaches and things like that. So I was able to apply that to what I was trying to do. And one thing that every single hairstylist or makeup artist that works with us will tell you is that I told each and every one of them that we work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You do not work for us. We work for you and you work for the client. And if we do our jobs and you do your job, then everybody's happy. And I believe in that. I believe that collaboration is the key to success. I believe in making people feel like they're a part of something.
Mm-hmm. Making them feel like they have a voice.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, this is your career. Mm-hmm. You need to drive that. And if we can be a part of that, and if we can give you the support that you need to get where you need to go, mm-hmm. then for me, that's a win. And I think, one thing that I want to point out, when I started the beauty suite, it wasn't about making more money doing this than I did before, right? Because if I stayed in my corporate job, I would probably be making triple what I'm making as an owner.
Anything
right
worth
now.
doing isn't motivated by money.
It wasn't the money. It was the balance, mm-hmm. and it was being able to make sure that I felt like I was being fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, I mean, being able to have a career, run a business, be a mom, and help people get where they needed to be with their careers. And with the beauty suite, I can do all that. So having all of that balance under one roof, to me, means more to me than having a huge paycheck and having a huge title. Yeah. It's just funny how priorities shift in life.
Also, though, I think it's interesting. Like, I realize you said you could be making like, 3 times more if you had stayed in the corporate world, right? Today.
Yeah.
But what are you, 6 years in, 7 years in with the beauty suite?
8 years. 2018. So 8 years.
Think about it, though. Oftentimes we have to take 2, 3, 4, 5 steps back if we want to take 20 steps forward.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, yeah, sure, you might be making triple today in corporate, but 10 years from now, there is no ceiling for what you're able to do mm-hmm. with the company that you're creating.
Sure.
There's no cap.
Sure. And I think to that point, I keep motivating myself mm-hmm. to make it better. And whether that's having a conversation with an artist and finding out what can we do to help you get where you need to go. Or it's talking to my front desk staff and saying, okay, guys, how do we become more efficient? Are there ways that we can automate things? Mm-hmm. Are there ways that we can do things better? These are conversations that I have often with the team. Mm-hmm. And it's because I care. It's also because I care that I don't sleep good. Because I feel like I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And one thing that is hard for me to balance is making sure that people are happy without compromising
your happiness.
Me.
Right.
And what my goals are for myself mm-hmm. and what my goals are for the business. And so I feel like that's something that I do struggle with a little bit, just because I want people to feel good. Mm-hmm. And that's very important to me. But at what cost, right? So there has to be a point where I'm like, you know what? We just got to do things a little bit different, mm-hmm. right? If this isn't working, we've got to do things differently. But evolution is huge. And I think that if you're owning a business and you're not evolving, you're not growing.
So 8 years in, what are some of the biggest, challenges, obstacles that you've faced? Because I think I told you this story the other day at lunch. I had a news director who, she was an executive producer.
Yeah.
She became a news director, and she told me, I never forgot this. She said, Jamie, I thought when I became news director, I was going to be so involved in everything, and we're going to be telling all these great stories, and I'm going to be, steering the ship. And what she quickly learned was being news director meant becoming HR central,
yes.
kind of. She's like, all I'm dealing with are people issues.
For sure.
And she's like, I'm not involved in any stories. There's no creativity. It really hindered her ability to be creative. What are some challenges that you faced? Because obviously what you're doing is so creative. And being an entrepreneur, I'm sure you have so many ideas and goals.
Oh, endless.
Talk to me about what are some challenges that you overcame?
Sure. So for me, I would say one of the biggest challenges is that you have to wear so many hats, right? And I don't want to say that I didn't realize that, because I think I was very aware of what it meant to become a business owner. I feel like that's one thing that I actually had to talk to myself about. I was like, okay, this means that if something goes wrong, I have to be there. If the toilet breaks, I have to get it fixed.
Right.
Like all of these things that you never worry about when you clock in and clock out, right? You go to your job, you sit at your desk that somebody else pays for, using the computer somebody else put there for you.
Somebody else is going to handle that. Yeah.
If the Wi-Fi goes down, you call the IT department and then they come and fix it and you can go grab, a coffee or a tea. All of those things you take for granted when you're working for someone else, right? Those are all amazing things.
Yeah.
And then you work for yourself and you're out of toilet paper. You know what? You got to stop what you're doing because you can't have people going to the bathroom without toilet paper. So for me, it was just the reality of the little things that I had to get used to, right? All those little things that I couldn't really take vacation. I couldn't go anywhere because I was working the desk most of the time. And so on our busy weekends, I had to miss my son's soccer game. And there were moments where we would have like a gap in the schedule where I would check a client out. I'd run and catch a half hour of the soccer game and get back before the next client got in. And I didn't have a choice. That was the hustle, right? That was the part of the business where I was like, oh, I didn't expect this. I thought I could have somebody at the desk, but we couldn't afford it yet. We couldn't afford it. And also I learned so much. That is where I learned the most about my business, working behind the desk, fielding phone calls, checking people out, learning how to anticipate the way a client would feel by the look on their face when they're sitting in the chair.
Being behind the desk, it sounds like the heartbeat of the business.
It is, honestly, you learn so much. And for me, as the owner, if a client wasn't happy, I was really upset about that because I felt like, oh my God, we can't have somebody leave, not feeling good. They're supposed to leave here feeling amazing. And so if I was at that desk, everybody left happy. You know why? Because I would walk up to them and say, hey, what's going on? I could sense if there was a little tension or if maybe the client just didn't feel comfortable. Maybe it was a really nice person who didn't feel comfortable saying, hey, my hair's a little too curly. Do you mind brushing it out a little bit? Or they were like, you know what, when I get home, I'll just, tweak it on my own. No, what's going on?
Yeah.
Girl, tell me. You have that look, I can tell. And then they would open up. But being able to kind of diffuse things, you can't do that from anywhere but that desk. You have to see what's happening in your business. You have to be able to understand the way clients are interacting with the artist. You have to be able to understand that because how could you grow it if you don't understand it? So although the first 3 years of me sitting behind the desk and doing all of that was so hard because now I felt like here we are again. I'm missing things for my kids. Yeah. It's like I didn't want this. This wasn't the part that I wanted to do. I realized I needed to do it. And I learned a lot. And it's part of what made me realize, okay, I've got to shift the way that we're doing things with the business, make sure that the clients are happy, make sure that the artists are happy, but also make sure that at the end of the day, everybody here enjoys the culture, right? So after 3 years, I realized I have to hire people. And what does that mean when you hire people? It means you have to pay people. And when you're paying people, you're not paying yourself or you're paying yourself less. Like something's got to give. There's only so much, right? There's only so much coming in. So to answer your question, there were a lot of challenges. Realizing that you're dealing with a lot of personalities. Realizing that you want to make everybody happy, but you can't make everybody happy. Realizing that you want to respect everybody's opinion, but not everybody's opinion has to matter.
Respectfully, right.
Thank you. Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things kind of were challenging for me, but then I'm also the type to challenge myself. And I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work. So now what do? How do we take that to the next level? How do we reinvent what we're doing? How do we make sure that people are happy? How do we make sure so I try to be proactive with things. And that's why we've been evolving. And in the last 2 years, it's been a big evolution. My business lived through COVID. That was huge. We opened in 2018, May of 2018. COVID hit March of 2020, right? Everybody knows exactly when that happened. They probably know exactly where they were when the governor put on the news that everything was closing down, right? I remember exactly where I was in that moment. And I felt like my business didn't get a fair chance. We were a year and a half in, almost barely 2 years in. And now we're dealing with a major shutdown. If I shut down, how do I pay my rent? We had to borrow money on credit cards and borrow personal loans to open up the business. And so now I was at a point where, shit, I've got to pay back people. I have no money coming in. now I started to rely on having a little bit of income coming in when I went so long without anything.
And your entire business model is based on interacting with people. Like you need people.
For sure.
Yeah.
And now we're closing.
Yeah.
So luckily we survived that. I mean, it was hard. We had to close for the few months and then we came back and then we closed again. And then, you know, the next year, 2021 wasn't even a real year. Events were happening. They weren't happening. We were going to people's houses. We couldn't open the doors. Then we closed again. And then it was just, I felt like we were constantly, things were happening that were out of our control, that we had to just figure out how to pivot. Okay, let's go talk to the Advance and see if they can, you know, help us promote the business. And can we do online classes? And can we start offering more one-on-one lessons with people? What can we do if events aren't happening?
You just read my mind because when you said the word pivot, I was thinking to myself, this woman is really good at the pivot, because every successful person I have ever met through my career or interviewed is excellent at the pivot. Like you can't get stuck. You have to be able to say, okay, what's next? How are we addressing it?
What's next?
Stop, drop, roll, right?
That's it.
That's
Bingo.
it. Yeah.
Literally. And I think with my business and really with my life, that's been so important to me. And I think part of that is because of my perspective and because of my mindset, right? And where I feel like it's very important to me that I always see the silver lining. Very important to me. Even when things are bad, there has to be something that we take away from this. There has to be a learning. It can't be all for nothing. Bad things can't happen for no reason. There has to be something that comes out of it.
What is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
In my life, I would say not to sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. I think that God always finds a way to put things into perspective for you. And for me, I don't like to let God take control of that. I do my best to keep perspective on everything and everyone in my life. And that means reflecting, which I do. And again, this is why I'm not a great sleeper, because I think about everything. I think about the conversation I'm having with somebody tomorrow. That's keeping me up. Why? Why are we having a conversation? I'll find out tomorrow, but why am I thinking about it now?
Yeah.
I think about how I spoke to my kids during the day, and could I have said something better, differently? Did I teach them the right way? I think about my husband. Are we in a good place? Could we have handled the children together differently? I just think that not sweating the small stuff is a big thing for me. But it's also a discipline that's very hard to follow.
It's a choice. You have to choose.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. But also, so is being happy. And I think that I'm good at that. I choose to be happy. And this is why, like, I do have like a few people in my life that question why I'm always so positive about things, even when things go wrong, right? If a relationship is going south, or if things aren't going good at your job, I always try to tell whoever I'm speaking to, well, what if you look at it this way? What if you look at it that way? And they're like, well, why? Just listen. Just listen. Why do you always gotta say that there's a reason for it? Or because that's me. I said, would you rather me sit here and say, oh, you know, you're right, cry yourself to sleep tonight, be upset about it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to say, do something about it?
I call those people Eeyores. You remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh?
Of course.
So like, nobody loves me. Yeah. There are people who are just going to be Eeyores no matter what. Like they're just that's just the way they see their glass half empty, right?
Yes.
And that is a choice.
Yeah.
But I think that those people are also really attracted to people like you and like people like myself who you have to see it in what is the positive, right? What is the good that we can take from this? And then what can we do with it? Because when you take action, when you're in any situation, when you're able to take action, you take your power back and you ground yourself. Like you don't 100%. Feel like you're flailing.
100%. And I think there are moments where I know that, and I know that's true. Sometimes I still spin, right? Yeah. There are moments where I can tell myself, you will get through this.
I says to myself,
I says, self, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I actually say that and I believe it. But how I feel doesn't always align with that. So
it'll catch up.
It does, right? Because with experience, you realize that, oh my God, I can't believe I got through that. I can't believe I ever felt that way about something or about a person, whether it's business, family, whatever the case is. You go through so much in your life where you feel like this is the end.
Yeah.
Or I'm never going to survive this. And then you get past it and you realize, wait, why did I ever get upset by that? And to your question before and to the way that I answered it, where I don't even think I fully answered it, what is something that I really learned? It's really just trying to put life into perspective, or to keep perspective on life. Because there's so many things that are more important than my business, more important than where I'm going to eat, more important than whether or not I look good. And if you have your health and your family's okay, for me, I think that you can get through anything.
Well, and speaking of family, I know that you've shared a lot of like wisdom that your dad has shared with you.
Yes.
What's some of the best advice he ever gave you?
So my dad always told me that expectations are premeditated disappointments. And he said that the less that you expect from people, the less disappointed you will be in life. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have standards, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have boundaries, but I don't think that you should ever expect someone to be like you. I think that people
100%.
I think that people
or you will be disappointed.
You will be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think that people who believe that other people should act a different way, respond a different way, handle them differently, I think that those people have a very hard time being happy.
Yeah.
Because if something isn't good for you, you have to walk away from it. And I know it's hard, and I know it's easier to say, but you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. And if that person or that thing or that relationship or that commitment isn't bringing you happiness in some way, or you're not feeling fulfilled in some way, you shouldn't do it. You have to let it go. And I think that comes with age, for sure. I think it's hard to teach people that when they're younger. You have to experience it. Another thing my dad taught me, you can't learn from anybody else's mistakes.
Oh, no.
You can only learn from your own. So it's okay to make mistakes, because every mistake is a learning. And that sounds a little cliche because, right, like most people know that. But at the end of the day, you can't.
How much have you learned from your greatest success, right? I mean, it's like, oh, that was like,
that was easy. We did it. We made it.
Right.
We got to the top,
but
for sure.
You learn from your greatest failures. Yeah.
Always. Yeah. Always. Or even if it's not a failure, if you've disappointed someone.
Yeah.
Right. And you didn't realize what you said, how it affected someone. I think we've all been there, right? We've all, and not deliberately or intentionally, but we've all said something to someone somewhere along the lines in our life, whether it's personally or professionally, that came across wrong, right? And so I feel like you learn from that. Then you learn to hold back a little bit.
It takes someone with a high emotional IQ, though, to be able to understand, like, it's not an attack. You don't have to defend it.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm so
That's
sorry.
That's
right?
it. I'm
That's
sorry.
it.
I didn't mean for it to come off that way.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, or it sounded better in my head. Yeah. Like one of those things. But again, for me, I shared with you something very personal. I lost my sister very young. And that was probably something that really, I would say,
shaped you?
Shaped me. Thank you. That word was so far out of my brain in that moment. Whoa. It was like, holy moly. It shaped me, shaped my whole life. When you have a loss like that, that's when you really realize what matters, you know? And that's part of why I realize I have to be present for my children. It's part of why I realize I can't give up on myself. It's part of why I realize that little things don't matter. And I know to some people, little things are really big. But when you really go through something that makes you feel dead and lost, then you realize what's important. And I don't want people to have to go through that to feel that. But for whatever reason, that's just the way the world works.
It's life, right?
That's life.
Yeah.
And you have to go through things like that to gain the perspective that I have, you know, or you just have to be surrounded by the right people.
Well, and you've gained so much perspective in the 8 years that you've been a business owner and brought this thing to life.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you tell Donna 8 years ago?
Oof, I would tell her that keep pushing. I would tell her that you shouldn't be afraid to lose people. I would tell her that not everybody can be everything to you. And I think that's something that became very true to me in my adult years. And I think that's something that I'm very good at compartmentalizing, right? I'm very good at separating my personal life from my business life. I do not expect my husband to be the guy that I talk to about things that I talk to my girlfriends about. I do not expect my one friend to be the friend that I have business talk with because she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. I do not expect my other friend, like I know who my people are for what I need them for. And I think that that's very important. You cannot expect everybody to be everything to you. You don't need to have the same conversations with everybody. Pick and choose.
And you can't ask someone for directions to places that they've never been, places that you want to go to that they've never been.
No, you can't. So you have to know your people. When you surround yourself with the right people, then you get what you need out of people. And sometimes it's just an ear. Sometimes you don't even need them to talk back. Sometimes you just need people to listen. But if you put yourself in this space with people that care and people that matter, your whole life will be better. And it takes a long time to get to that point. It really does. But you become a better person for it. And you have to let go of the things that no longer serve you. And you've said it. I know everybody said that before. But I don't think you can say that enough. And that's something that I try to teach my kids. Because my kids come home. My kids, I have tween and teens.
Yeah.
And so my kids will come home, and mostly the girls. My son doesn't talk so much about his friends. He is a very good listener, which is pretty remarkable for a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about his friends too much. The girls do because they're girls. But everybody's their bestie, right? And their friend. And, oh, my friend's this and my friend's that. And my husband and I, we really make a conscious effort to say, listen, not every classmate is a friend. Not everybody that you do things with are people that you can rely on or confide in. Just be mindful of that. Be mindful not to label everybody in your life because people are going to come and go.
100%.
You're going to have different people for different reasons.
Sometimes losing someone isn't a loss.
Absolutely. And it's hard to see that, right? I'm sure you've had friends and family that you talked to at one point and no longer talk to. I know I do. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts hard. And I have some family members that I don't speak to, right now. And it hurts for sure. But when I look back and I think about why we got to where we're at, maybe it's what's right. Maybe it's what was better for me, for my kids, right? That's how I flip that. I have made smarter choices in my life. I have been conscious about these choices. And so now I make sure that I surround myself with the right people. I surround my children with the right people because I feel better for it. And it's true. And it's not until you get to that point and you realize, hey, I'm in a good place. I'm in a happy place. I'm around with people that care, people that call me.
People that are going to help you elevate to the next level. Because I know you have so many projects on the horizon.
Yes, we do.
Possibly your own podcast included.
Possibly.
Very cool.
Yes.
Where can people learn more about you and what you're working on?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So we have a website. It's thebeautysuiteny.com. And on there, we talk about a little bit about what we're looking to do from a franchise perspective. Our business, it's a phenomenal business model. It is something that I can see doing really well in bigger cities, in cities where people are spending money to get ready for events, where there's a large volume of weddings, where people care about what they look like, where there's hairstylists and makeup artists who are entrepreneurs. Every hairstylist and a makeup artist is an entrepreneur. I know back in the day, people would look at those professions and not think that it was anything special, but there's a career to be had. And I want to be someone that opens that door for people. Before my business existed, you had to work out of a salon to do an updo. There wasn't a business like this. So I want to open the door for people who are interested in event styling and makeup artistry. And so we talk about our franchise on the website. And that's a place where if you're a beauty entrepreneur and you're looking to either own a franchise or to be a part of it in some way, where you're running your business through the beauty suite, you can find information there. I also launched a new Instagram page, the Beauty Suite brand, and I haven't yet done the first post. We're working on that. But that will really be all of the ins and outs of the business behind the studio, right? So basically what's going on behind the scenes of what's happening in the Beauty Suite New York, which is our flagship studio. And on there, you'll see that we're going to start talking about the software that I'm developing. I'm developing a software that's specific to this business. You'll see the development of the franchise and where we're going with that. And God willing, by next year, once we officially launch it, we'll be able to sell one and talk about that. And then we'll talk about the Artist Network, which is the community of hairstylists and makeup artists that we're building, and why it's so important to have a network and to be a part of a network, and how when you work together with like-minded people, you grow at way faster speeds than you do if you're working by yourself. That, for me, I think my entire business model shows that, because everybody that has joined the business at whatever point in their career they've been at, whether they're brand new, whether they've been doing it for a few years, or whether they have more experience, has grown much faster since coming on board because we work together. And that's such a big part of this business. And collaboration is so key for growth in any business, for me, really, but specifically in our business. So you have the beautysuiteny.com, you have the Beauty Suite NY, which is our Instagram page. And that features pretty much everything that we're doing from the studio side and everything that's happening in the Beauty Suite New York. And then you have our website as well. Or maybe I said that already. But you have multiple places where you can hear more about what we're doing with the Beauty Suite. And hopefully someday I'll get up the nerve to do more things like this, and maybe get a little more personal on my personal page.
How did it feel? Talk about, like, that's what I said to you at lunch. I was like, listen, if you feel nervous, if you feel, address it. I'm the kind of person, I'm very confrontational, and I'm like, just say the thing, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel? Like, now that you've done it and it's like you've experienced it, like,
I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. I think you make everybody feel comfortable. So I think that that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I'm very big on energy. And I know that you said you are too. Yeah. And so when people make you feel good, it's just something takes over in your body, you know? And so for me, thank you. You made me feel very comfortable. I love that you don't do an intro. I love that you kind of just start the conversation.
I do my thing my own way.
I love it.
And, you know, some people think it's, honestly, at this point, I don't care. I'm 44 years old. I just do what I do, right? I know what I'm doing and I know how to execute it.
And you're good at it.
And I always felt like doing the intro makes people, it's almost like when you get them, you ever watch people get on a roller coaster and like they know it's going to, you know,
they're
hear
anticipating
the cranking,
all the things.
Right? And it starts cranking. You hear the gears. And, you know, they're locked in. Now they've got a seatbelt on, the bars across them, and they know, like, they're going to hit the peak and then they're going to drop. And so it's almost like anticipating an anxiety attack. And I hate doing that to people because for me, as someone who was on TV for so long, I know what it means to have a cold open in my ear, right? The directors in my ear, they'll say, hey, 10 seconds, right? They're counting me down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Now your brain is scrambled,
now
right?
the music's building. Now we've got like a whole score, right? And you've got this breaking news. The shit's hitting the fan. There's nothing in the prompter, and you just have to be ready to go.
Yeah,
I know what that means, but I harnessed that over 20 years. Not everyone. I want people to be comfortable when they come on and not feel like there's, you know, some kind of something's about to happen. So I just like to ease people into it. It just feels more natural. And
you succeeded.
You know,
thank you.
You're so sweet.
No, I love it. I mean, look, I feel great. Again, I think it's a big part of it is you. You know, you make people feel so good. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Once you get the nerves out and you start talking, it gets a little bit easier. I'm trying to be conscious of what I'm saying, but
it feels good to
for
talk.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And for me, if I can say something that triggers someone in a
Resonates.
good way.
Yeah.
That resonates with someone, better word, thank you.